The Dragon Empire stretched across 12 star systems. Their ships moved like shadows between the stars. Their warriors breathed fire hot enough to melt metal. Their scales shone with the light of distant suns. For 10,000 years, they had conquered and ruled, and no species dared to challenge them. Among the dragons, there was one law above all others. The weak must die. The strong must live. This was the way of fire. In the birthing chambers of the great ship, Eternal Flame, a clutch of eggs sat under heat lamps. 6 eggs, each one perfect and glowing with inner light. The clutch mother, a warrior named Hana, watched them with cold yellow eyes. She did not feel love. Dragons did not love their young. They simply produced them and waited to see which ones deserved to live. 5 eggs hatched within the expected time. 5 hatchlings emerged with bright scales of red and gold. They snapped at each other with tiny teeth. They blew small flames at the air. They were perfect. The 6th egg did not hatch. Hannah waited 3 more days. When the egg finally cracked, the hatchling that came out made her step backward in disgust. His scales were gray, not silver like moonlight or steel like weapons. Just gray, like ash, like death, like nothing. His wings were too small. His eyes were too large. When he tried to breathe fire, only a thin wisp of smoke came from his mouth. Starless, Hana said. The word was a curse among dragons. It meant he carried no fire in his soul. It meant he was broken. The Empire's law was clear. Defective hatchlings could not be raised. They wasted food. They wasted space. They wasted time that could be spent on worthy children. Hana had a choice. She could kill him quickly, or she could abandon him. Death was considered mercy. Abandonment was considered justice. Hana chose justice. She placed the gray hatchling back inside his broken eggshell. She carried him to a transport pod. She programmed the pod to fly to a barren moon at the edge of Empire space. When the pod landed, it would open its doors and leave the egg in the cold. "May the void take you," she said. It was not cruel. It was simply the way. The pod launched. Hana returned to her 5 worthy children and forgot about the 6th one before the day ended. The moon had no name. It was just a rock floating in space, too small to matter, too far from any sun to hold warmth. The transport pod crashed on its surface because its landing systems were old and poorly maintained. Why waste good equipment on a death delivery? Inside the cracked pod, inside his broken eggshell, the gray hatchling breathed. His body was cold. His heart beat slowly. Dragons could survive extreme temperatures, but not forever. Not without food. Not without heat. Not without hope. He did not understand what had happened. He did not know he had been thrown away. He only knew that he was alone and afraid and cold. He curled into a tight ball and waited. He did not know what he was waiting for. Perhaps death. Perhaps something else. 3 cycles passed. The hatchling stopped moving. His breath became so shallow that it barely stirred the air. The life inside him flickered like a candle in the wind. Far away, in a part of space where humans lived and worked, a small ship called the Sparrow flew between asteroid fields. It was an ugly ship, patched together from salvaged parts. Its paint had faded long ago. Its engines made sounds that worried its pilot. But it flew, and that was enough. Una sat in the pilot's seat, drinking cold coffee and watching her scanner screens. She was 32 years old. Her hair was cut short because long hair got in the way during salvage work. Her hands had scars from years of cutting metal and fixing machines. She had been alone on this ship for 5 years. Ever since her partner died in an accident. She was not supposed to be in this sector. Dragon Empire territory was dangerous for humans. The dragons tolerated human merchants and traders, but they did not welcome them. A lone salvage pilot picking through abandoned, Wrecks could easily disappear without anyone asking questions, but there was good salvage in Empire space. Dragons threw away things that humans could use, and Yuna needed credits to keep the sparrow flying. Her scanner beeped. She leaned forward and looked at the screen. There was a signal coming from a small moon nearby. It was weak, almost invisible among the background noise of space. But it was there. A biosignal. Something alive. That's weird, she said out loud. Talking to herself was a habit she had developed during her years alone. She almost ignored it. The signal was in Empire territory. Going there was risky. Whatever was making that signal was probably a dragon, and dragons did not need human help. They did not want human help, but the signal was so weak. So small, like something dying. Bomi, what do you think? She asked her navigation AI. I think we should continue to our designated salvage coordinates, Bomi replied in its flat electronic voice. Investigating unknown biosignals in Empire space increases risk of detection and conflict by approximately 68%. Yuna drummed her fingers on the console. The logical choice was clear. Ignore the signal. Do her job. Go home. She changed course toward the moon. The transport pod was easy to find. It lay on its side, half buried in gray dust. Yuna landed the sparrow nearby and put on her environment suit. The moon had no air, so she had to bring her own. She walked slowly toward the crashed pod. Her boots left prints in the dust. No one had walked here before her. No one had cared enough to come. The pod's door was open. Inside, she found the egg dot. It was smaller than she expected, about the size of a human baby. The shell was cracked and gray. For a moment, she thought whatever was inside had already died. Then she saw movement. A tiny shift. A small breath. She knelt down and touched the shell. It was an ice-cold dot, something inside the egg pressed against her hand. She felt it through her glove. A small pressure. A tiny plea. Oh no, Yuna whispered. Oh no, no, no. She knew what this was. She knew what it meant. Someone had thrown away a baby dragon. Someone had left it here to die alone in the cold. Every smart thought in her head told her to leave. This was not her problem. This was not her species. This was not her place. But she remembered being alone. She remembered being afraid. She remembered what it felt like when no one came to help. She took off her thermal jacket and wrapped it around the egg. She lifted it gently and held it against her chest. Through the shell, she felt two tiny hearts struggling to beat. Okay, she said, her voice shaking. Okay, little one. I've got you. I've got you. She carried the egg back to her ship and never looked back. Yuna placed the egg on her bed and stared at it. The cold from the shell had seeped through her jacket and into her skin. Her hands were shaking, but not from the temperature. She was afraid. More afraid than she had been in years. She knew what she had done. She had taken a dragon egg from Empire space. If anyone found out, she would die. Not maybe. Not probably. She would die. Dragons did not forgive theft. And they certainly did not forgive humans who interfered with their young. But looking at the egg, she could not feel sorry. Something was alive inside. Something small and scared and alone. How could she leave that behind? This is very unwise, Bomi said from the ship speakers. Dragon eggs require specific conditions to survive. Temperature between 45 and 52 degrees. Humidity at 60%. Mineral supplements in the atmosphere. This ship cannot provide these conditions. Then we'll change the ship, Yuna said. She worked through the night. She rerouted heating vents from the engine room to her sleeping quarters. She created a small tent around the bed using thermal blankets. She boiled water on her cooking plate to add moisture to the air. It was not perfect. It was not even close to perfect. But the egg slowly grew warmer under her hands. For 3 days, she did not sleep more than a few minutes at a time. She watched the egg constantly. She talked to it, even though she knew it could not understand her. She told it about her life, about Earth, about the stars. She sang old songs her grandmother had taught her, songs from a planet that no longer existed. On the 4th day, she had to face reality. The egg needed minerals that she did not have. Dragon hatchlings absorb special compounds through their shells. Without these compounds, they would be too weak to break free when the time came. She flew to a trading station at the edge of human space. She sold her backup navigation computer. She sold her spare engine parts. She sold her mother's ring, the only thing she had left from her family. With the credits, she bought black market data about dragon biology. She bought mineral compounds that cost more than her ship was worth. She bought heat lamps designed for exotic animals. When she returned to the Sparrow, she had almost nothing left. No savings. No backup equipment. No safety net. If anything went wrong now, she would have no way to fix it. She did not care. "I have calculated our new survival probability," Bomi announced. "It has decreased by 73%. "I heard you the first time," Yuna said, adjusting the heat lamps around the egg. "I do not understand your actions. This egg has no value to you. It cannot help you. It will only cost you resources and put you in danger." Yuna paused. She looked at the egg, at the tiny cracks forming on its surface. She thought about the question. "Bomi," she said slowly, "do you know why humans survived?" Humans survived because they developed technology and formed cooperative social groups. No. I mean yes, but no. She sat down next to the egg. "We survived because we're stupid. We do things that don't make sense. We help people who can't help us back. We love things that can't love us. We fight when we should run. We hope when we should give up." She touched the egg gently. "Every smart species in this galaxy looks at us and thinks we're crazy. And maybe we are. But we're still here. And this little one is going to be here too." More days passed. Yuna watched the cracks in the shell grow wider. She barely ate. She barely slept. Her eyes burned from exhaustion, but she would not look away. Not now. Not when they were so close. On the 18th day, the egg broke open. The hatchling that emerged was small and gray and wet from the fluid inside the shell. His eyes were closed. His wings were folded against his body. He was shivering, even in the warmth of the heat lamps. Yuna reached out slowly. She did not know if touching him was safe. She did not know if he would bite her or burn her or be afraid of her. She only knew that she could not leave him alone in those first moments of life. Her fingers touched his head. His scales were soft, not hard like she expected. He felt fragile, breakable, real. The hatchling opened his eyes. They were large and golden, with pupils that narrowed to slits in the light. They looked up at her face. They saw her messy hair and tired eyes and cracked lips. They saw a human, a species that dragons considered barely worth noticing. And something changed in those golden eyes. Something connected. Something decided. The hatchling pressed his head against her hand and made a small sound. It was not a roar or a growl. It was soft and gentle. It was the sound of a baby finding its mother. Yuna felt tears run down her face. She had not cried in years. Not since her partner died. Not since she decided that crying was a waste of water and space. But now she could not stop. "Hi," she whispered. "Hi, little one. I'm Yuna. I'm going to take care of you." The hatchling chirped again. He crawled forward on unsteady legs and pressed his body against her stomach. He was seeking warmth, the warmth of another living thing. Yuna wrapped her arms around him carefully. "You need a name," she said. "Something strong. Something bright." She thought about his gray scales. She thought about how everyone had given up on him. She thought about what she wanted him to become. Taiho, she said. It means great fire. Because one day, you're going to burn brighter than any of them. I believe that. I believe in you. Taiho did not understand the words, but he understood the warmth. He understood the gentle hands. He understood that for the first time in his short existence, he was not alone. He closed his eyes and slept against her heart. Yuna held him through the night and into the morning. She did not move. She did not sleep. She just held him and watched him breathe and promised herself that no matter what happened, no matter what it cost, she would keep him safe. This was stupid. This was crazy. This was the most human thing she had ever done, and she would not change it for anything in the galaxy. 5 years passed like water flowing through fingers, fast and slow at the same time, full of small moments that built into something larger. Taiho grew, but not the way dragons were supposed to grow. His wings stayed small for too long. His scales remained gray, though small spots of deep blue began appearing along his spine. When he tried to breathe fire, only sparks came out, dancing in the air like fireflies before dying. By dragon standards, he was still defective, still worthless, still a mistake that should have been erased. But Yuna did not know dragon standards. She only knew that Taiho followed her everywhere on the ship. She knew that he chirped happily when she sang old Earth songs. She knew that he curled against her stomach when she slept because her warmth made him feel safe. She taught him human words. Simple ones at first. Food, water, sleep. Yes, no. Yuna. His voice was strange. Not built for human language, but he learned. He always learned. You're smart, Yuna told him one day, watching him figure out how to open a food container. Smarter than me, probably. Taiho looked up at her with his golden eyes. Smart, he repeated. The word came out rough and growling, but clear enough. Taiho smart. Yuna laughed and rubbed his head. Yeah, Taiho smart. Taiho very smart. They found a home on a small asteroid far from shipping lanes. Yuna hollowed out a cave using mining lasers. She built walls and floors from salvaged metal. She created a space big enough for a growing dragon and a tired human. It was not beautiful. It was not comfortable. But it was theirs. Yuna continued her salvage work, but she changed how she did it. No more dangerous jobs. No more risky territories. She took the safe work, the boring work, the work that paid less, but let her come home every time. Home. That word had meaning again. Taiho waited for her at the entrance of their cave whenever she returned. His tail wagged like an excited dog. He pressed his growing body against her ship before she could even open the door. He was too big for her to carry now, but he still tried to fit in her lap when they sat together. Tell me about Earth, he said one night. They were sitting outside, watching stars move across the black sky. Taiho's head rested on Yuna's legs. She ran her fingers along his scales, feeling the ridge where gray met blue. Earth was our first home, Yuna said. A long time ago, before we went to the stars. It was blue and green and full of water. There were mountains taller than this asteroid. There were oceans so deep that light could not reach the bottom. What happened to it? Yuna was quiet for a moment. It died. Our sun grew too hot. The oceans dried up. The air became poison. By then, we had ships, so we left. We scattered across the galaxy like seeds in the wind. Were humans sad? Yes, we were very sad. Earth was our mother, and we had to leave her behind. Yuna looked up at the stars. But we survived. We always survive. That's what humans do. Taiho thought about this. Dragons do not talk about home, he said. Dragons only talk about conquest. About winning. About power. Is that what you want? Power? Taiho shook his head. I want this. I want home. I want you. Yuna hugged his neck, pressing her face against his warm scales. Then that's what you have, forever. The years continued. Taiho grew larger, taller, stronger. His blue spots spread across his body like a new night sky. His flame grew brighter, though still small compared to true dragon fire. He learned to fly awkwardly at first, then with growing grace. He learned to read by watching Yuna study repair manuals. He learned engineering by helping her fix the sparrow. He learned kindness by receiving it every day. But time was not kind to Yuna. She had worked in space for too long. Salvage work exposed her to radiation, to toxic chemicals, to dangers that accumulated slowly over years. She did not notice the sickness growing inside her until it was already strong. The coughing started first. Then the weakness. Then the blood. It's radiation damage, she told Taiho one night, her voice calm even though her hands were shaking. From a job I did years ago, before I found you. The cells in my lungs are breaking down. Taiho felt his heart stop. Can it be fixed? There's a treatment. A compound that can repair the damage. But it's rare. Very rare. It only grows on planets inside Dragon Empire space. Then I will get it. Taiho, no. Yuna grabbed his head with both hands, forcing him to look at her. If you go there, they'll kill you. You're starless. You're an outcast. And you were raised by a human. They'll see you as an abomination. I do not care what they see. I care about you. And I care about you. Yuna's voice cracked. I can't lose you. I can't. You're everything I have. Taiho looked at his mother. His human mother. The woman who found him dying in the cold and wrapped him in her jacket. The woman who gave up everything to keep him alive. The woman who taught him that strength was not about power, but about love. You taught me something, he said slowly. You taught me that humans do stupid things. They help when they shouldn't. They love when it hurts. They fight when they should run. Yuna closed her eyes. Tears fell from them. I'm not a dragon, Taiho said. Not really. I am something else. Something you made. And what you made does not abandon family. What you made does not let fear win. What you made goes to the edge of the galaxy and back if that's what it takes to save the person who gave him everything. He pressed his forehead against hers. Wait for me, he whispered. I will come back. I promise. Yuna could not speak. She could only hold him. She held him until morning, knowing that when the sun rose, he would leave. Knowing that she might never see him again, but also knowing, deep in her heart, that she had raised him well. Taiho flew alone through the darkness between stars. The sparrow was too small for him now, but Yuna had built him a ship of his own years ago. She called it the Second Chance. It was ugly, made from salvaged parts just like its mother ship. But it flew true and fast, carrying him toward the heart of Dragon Empire space. He had never seen other dragons. In his memories, there was only gray shell, cold moon, warm hands. Yuna was his entire world. Now he was flying toward a world that had thrown him away. The Empire's border stations detected him immediately. Dragon ships surrounded him within hours. They were massive, covered in weapons, their hulls decorated with symbols of fire and conquest. Compared to them, the Second Chance looked like a toy. A voice came through his communication system. It was deep and cold, speaking the dragon language that Yuna had taught him from old recordings. Unknown vessel. Identify yourself. Taiho answered in the same language. His accent was wrong. His words carried traces of human speech patterns. I am Taiho. I request entry to trade for medical supplies. There was a long silence. Then laughter. Several voices, mocking and cruel. Taiho? The voice said. That name is registered to a starless hatchling. Abandoned 15 cycles ago. Presumed dead. I am not dead. Another pause. Land on the station platform. Do not resist inspection. Taiho landed as ordered. When he stepped out of his ship, he saw dragons for the first time. They were huge, their scales bright red and gold, their wings spreading wide enough to block the light. They looked at him with disgust, as if he were an insect that had crawled into their home. Look at those scales, one of them said. Gray and blue. What kind of mutation is that? And he's so small. Look at his wings. Pathetic. Taiho stood straight and said nothing. Yuna had taught him about bullies. She told him that the people who insulted others were usually afraid themselves. They needed to push others down to feel tall. An older dragon stepped forward. His scales were dark red, scarred from old battles. He carried the marks of a general on his chest. I am Dowan, he said. I knew your clutch father. He was a great warrior. He would be ashamed to see what his blood became. I did not come here for his approval, Taiho said. I came to trade. I have salvage from outside Empire space. I want medical compounds in return. And why should we trade with a starless outcast? Because my salvage has value. Your compounds have value. Trade benefits both sides. That is simple logic. Dowan stared at him. There was something strange in his eyes. Not respect, but curiosity. Who taught you to speak like that? A human. The reaction was immediate. Dragons stepped back. Some growled. Some laughed again, but this time with shock instead of mockery. A human raised you? Dowan said slowly. You were raised by a primitive species? By animals? Taiho felt fire build in his chest. It was small fire, barely a spark compared to true dragon flame. But it burned hot. She is not an animal, he said. She is my mother. The word created silence. Dragons did not have mothers. They had clutch contributors who abandoned their young as soon as they proved weak. The concept of mother, of someone who chose to love and protect, was alien to them. 3 young warriors stepped forward. Their scales gleamed with pride. Their eyes burned with the desire to prove themselves. This abomination insults our entire species, the largest one said. I challenge him to honor combat. Let us see what human teaching is worth. The challenge was accepted before Taiho could think. Honor combat was ancient tradition. Refusing meant accepting eternal shame. Losing meant death. They led him to a fighting circle. Hundreds of dragons gathered to watch. They expected quick entertainment. A small gray outcast against a trained warrior. The outcome was obvious. The first warrior attacked immediately. He was fast and strong, his claws slicing through the air, his flame hot enough to melt stone. He fought the way all dragons fought, with overwhelming power, with ancient techniques passed down through generations. Taiho was smaller, weaker. His flame was barely visible. By every measure, he should have died in seconds, but he did not fight like a dragon. He moved sideways when the attack came, not backward. He ducked under the warrior's wing instead of blocking it. He used the warrior's own weight against him, tripping him with a technique Yuna had learned from old Earth martial arts. When the warrior fell, Taiho pinned his throat with one claw. Yield, Taiho said. The warrior's eyes were wide with shock. He had never lost. He had never faced someone who fought differently. I yield, he whispered. The second warrior was more careful. She circled Taiho slowly, looking for weaknesses. She breathed fire in short bursts, testing his reactions. Taiho did not try to match her flame with his own. Instead, he watched her patterns. She always stepped left before attacking. She always stepped left before attacking. She always closed her eyes for a split second before breathing fire. These were small things, invisible to someone who fought the same way. But Taiho had learned to see differently. When she attacked, he was already moving. He caught her flame on his blue scales, which absorbed heat better than he expected. He grabbed her wing and twisted, not to break it, but to control her movement. She crashed into the ground with him standing over her. Yield. She yielded. The third warrior was the leader of the group. He was older, more experienced, more dangerous. He did not underestimate Taiho now. He fought with careful precision, using techniques designed for smaller opponents. The battle lasted longer. Taiho took hits. His gray scales cracked. Blue blood ran from cuts on his side. But he did not stop. He could not stop. Yuna was dying. Every moment he wasted here was a moment she spent suffering. He thought about her face, her tired eyes, her warm hands, her voice singing songs from a dead plant. Something happened inside him. The small fire that always flickered weakly suddenly grew. Not large, not overwhelming, but intense, focused, pure. He breathed, and blue flame came out. The warrior screamed. He had never seen blue fire. No dragon had. It burned hotter than normal flame, concentrated into a beam instead of a wave. It did not kill him, but it broke through his defenses completely. When the smoke cleared, Taiho stood over the third warrior with his claw at the dragon's throat. Yield. The warrior yielded. Silence filled the arena. Hundreds of dragons stared at the small gray outcast who had defeated 3 warriors without killing any of them. They did not understand. This was not how battles worked. This was not how dragons behaved. General Dowan stepped forward. His face showed no emotion, but his voice was different now. Softer, almost respectful. Who taught you to fight like that? Taiho looked at the old general. A human, he said. My mother. She taught me that winning does not mean destroying. It means protecting. It means controlling the battle so that everyone can walk away. He straightened his broken body. Now, I came here to trade. Will you honor that trade? Or do I need to defeat more of your warriors? Dowan stared at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, he nodded. Come with me. There is someone who wants to meet you. The throne room of the Dragon Sovereign was larger than any space Taiho had ever seen. Its ceiling disappeared into darkness above. Its walls were covered with the symbols of conquered worlds, thousands of them, stretching back through ages of fire and war. At the far end, on a throne made from the bones of fallen enemies, sat Sovereign Yunji. She was ancient. Her scales had turned white with age, like snow on mountain peaks. Her eyes held the light of dying stars, cold and vast and terribly intelligent. She had ruled the Dragon Empire for 10,000 years. She had watched civilizations rise and fall. She had made decisions that killed billions and saved billions more. Taiho walked toward her alone. General Dowan had brought him to the palace doors, but could go no further. Only those summoned could enter the presence of the sovereign. His wounds still bled. His legs trembled with exhaustion. But he kept walking, one step after another, until he stood before the ancient ruler of his species. Kneel, said the guards around him. Taiho did not kneel. Yunji raised one massive claw, stopping the guards who moved to force him down. Her wide eyes studied him with cold curiosity. You are the starless one, she said. Her voice was soft but filled the entire room. The one who was thrown away. The one who returned. I am. And you defeated 3 warriors in honor combat. Without killing them. Yes, that is strange. Dragons kill their enemies. It is our way. It is not my way. Yunji leaned forward slightly. Her ancient body creaked like old wood. Tell me about your way. Tell me about the human who raised you. Taiho thought about how to explain Yuna to this creature of fire and conquest. How could he describe warmth to someone who only knew burning? How could he describe love to someone who only knew power? He decided to be simple. She found me dying, he said. She did not have to save me. Saving me cost her everything. Her money, her safety, her future. She had nothing to gain and everything to lose. Then why did she do it? Because I needed saving. Yunji was silent. Her wide eyes blinked slowly, like a machine processing information it did not understand. That is foolish, she said finally. Resources spent on the weak are resources wasted. This is the fundamental law of survival. The strong prosper. The weak die. The universe does not reward mercy. The universe also does not reward cruelty, Taiho said. It does not care about either. The universe is just empty space and burning stars. Meaning is what we create for ourselves. And what meaning did your human create? Taiho felt the answer rise from deep inside him. It was not something he had thought about. It was something he knew, the way he knew that fire was hot and space was cold. She created family, he said. She looked at a dying egg from a species that considered her barely alive and decided that it mattered. She decided that I mattered. Not because I was strong. Not because I was useful. Not because I could give her anything in return. She chose me because choosing is what makes us more than animals fighting over scraps. He stepped closer to the throne. The guards tensed, but Yunji waved them back again. Your empire threw me away because I was weak, Taiho continued. A human picked me up and made me strong. Not with fire. Not with power. With patience. With kindness. With love. Those are weapons too, Sovereign. Weapons that build instead of destroy. Imji said nothing for a long moment. Something moved behind her ancient eyes. Something cracked in her ancient heart. You're human, she said slowly. She is dying. Yes. And you came here, to the place that abandoned you, knowing that we might kill you for her. She came to Dragon Space, knowing you might kill her for me. This is what she taught me. You protect your people. Not because they are strong. Not because they are useful. Because they are yours. Because you chose them. And that choice has meaning. Yunji rose from her throne. She was enormous, larger than any dragon Taiho had seen. Her white scales glowed with inner light. She walked toward him slowly. Each step shaking the floor dot, she stopped in front of him. Her head lowered until her ancient eyes were level with his. I have ruled for 10,000 years, she said. I have conquered 100 worlds. I have made decisions that shaped the fate of billions. And in all that time, I never understood why the lesser species kept surviving. They are weak. They have no natural weapons. They die so easily. But they keep spreading, keep growing, keep refusing to disappear. Her breath washed over Taiho, hot and old, and carrying the smell of ages. Now I understand, she whispered. It is not their bodies that make them strong. It is their choices. Their foolish, illogical, beautiful choices. She turned to her guards. Bring the medicine, the best we have, and prepare a ship to escort him home. Taiho felt his legs weaken. Thank you. Do not thank me. I am not doing this for you. I am doing this because you have shown me something I had forgotten. Something I need to remember. She looked at him one last time. You will return here. I am creating a new position in my court, Bridge Keeper. You will speak for the lesser species. You will remind us what they have to teach. You will be the living proof that strength can come from unexpected places. Taiho bowed his head. Not because he was forced to. Because it felt right. The journey home was a blur. He flew faster than he had ever flown. The medicine sat in a container beside him, precious beyond measure. Every moment felt too slow. Every star between him and Una felt like an obstacle. When he landed at their asteroid home, he found her lying in bed. She was thinner than before. Her skin was pale. Her breath came in short, painful gasps. But her eyes opened when she heard him enter. "You came back," she whispered. "I promised." He gave her the medicine. He watched her drink it. He held her hand while it worked, while the compounds repaired her damaged cells, while color slowly returned to her face. Hours passed. Night became morning. Morning became noon. And finally, Una sat up. She looked at him with clear eyes. Strong eyes. Alive eyes. "You saved me," she said. "You saved me first." She laughed, the sound breaking into tears. She reached up and held his massive head in her small human hands. She pressed her forehead against his scales. "I knew you would be a great fire someday," she said. Tejo closed his eyes. He felt her warmth. He felt her love. He felt everything she had given him, everything she had taught him, everything she had believed when no one else did. "No," he said softly. "You made me one." Outside their small home, stars burned in the endless dark. Empires rose and fell. Species fought and died and were forgotten. The universe continued its cold, uncaring dance. But in a hollowed-out asteroid at the edge of known space, a human and a dragon held each other. And that was enough. That was everything.